thank you, Luke, for having me speak. I'm very honored to talk tonight. A little bit nervous, but mostly honored. I have a cheat sheet also. I feel better writing everything down. I'm kind of a nerd like that, so I'm going to use this as well. Can you all hear me? No. Okay. Like that's better? Okay. I just wanted to share my story with you in my martial arts training, and it basically can be broken down into 3 different times over my life that I've trained. Each time that I trained, something different prompted me to train, and I learned something different from it. I began training in Taekwondo as a college student in the 1980s. I was a part-time fitness instructor at the time, and I was always looking for different ways to stay in shape. I was also drawn to what seemed to be a spiritual side in martial arts. The Karate Kid was a hit movie at the time. There was something mysterious about Mr. Miyagi, like the way he would clap his hands together and heal Daniel's son's leg. I thought that was very cool. So I became part of Terry Nye's Fighting Tigers in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I learned to fight pretty well and worked my way up to a brown belt level. I never learned much about the Eastern philosophies or how to do the Mr. Miyagi hand trick, but I had fun making friends and keeping active during my college years. You don't hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Fast forward about 15 years, I was married with 2 daughters and was working on the adoption of our 3rd daughter, Jade, from Sierra Leone, Africa. As we ran into one complication after another with our adoption, I realized I would need to travel to this war-torn country by myself to work with the court system. I called a local karate studio in Frederick, Primers Karate, and I arranged to take a few classes to brush up on my self-defense before traveling. I think many women get into martial arts for reasons of self-defense. For me, it's what got me back in the door, and I soon remembered how much I loved it for the sport and just for the fun of it. When Jade and I returned home about a month later, all 3 of my girls and myself began training at Primers. This time around, karate provided balance to my life as a stay-at-home mom. I wasn't climbing the corporate ladder, so I had no markers of success professionally. I measured my achievements by the successes of my kids. So karate provided me with discipline, focus, and a belt system that I could see my hard work and my personal achievements. And the best part about it was being able to share this experience with my kids. Together we worked our way through the belts until we achieved black belts. We shared many fond memories training and competing during those years. As the kids reached their teen years, their school and social lives crowded out time to train. I was instructing by then, but beginning to lose the passion I initially had in my journey. The UFC was becoming popular, and a fellow instructor and I began to practice some of the ground game we were seeing in the MMA fights. So through word of mouth, I heard there was a jiu-jitsu place in Frederick. I called a phone number I found in the book, and I arranged with Luke to come in and try out an afternoon class. It was a very snowy day back in February 2009. The roads were awful that day, but I didn't want to be a no-show after making this appointment with Luke. I don't know if you remember this, Luke, but I was the only one to show up that day. Do you remember that? I thought, oh gosh, this is going to be so awkward. So it was a little awkward in the beginning, but it was the spark that ignited my passion for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I came home and I talked to my husband, Pete, and I told him I was really interested in training BJJ. Having spent many years as a wrestler, Pete knows just how up close and personal some positions are in grappling. And I can only imagine he wasn't thrilled to hear that I wanted to train with a group of men. But Pete could see how much I wanted this, and he always encouraged me to follow my passion, the way we tried to teach our daughters to do. So for several nights a week, Pete agreed to send me out the door to roll with the guys while he cleans up dinner and tends to whatever is on the family schedule for the night. I think we both know the Xbox is being fired up as I'm pulling out of the driveway. It's kind of an unspoken thing we don't talk about. He's a really good man. After a couple of months getting used to my small afternoon classes, I worked up the nerve to attend an open mat on a Saturday afternoon. I was so nervous. What if no one would roll with me? Here I was, the only woman with a brand new white belt. And you may not have noticed, but I'm really small too. Like, I don't feel small inside, but I see pictures sometimes of the girls and think, I am really short, compared to these guys. So I wasn't exactly the ideal training partner everyone would gravitate toward. I made Pete come with me that day to open mat just to sit there and give me moral support and to be someone to talk to if no one talked to me. So I would scan the room for anyone that would make eye contact with me. I'd walk right up to these big sweaty guys and say, "You want to roll?" Thank goodness the really big guys like Joey and Josh seemed much smaller when we hit the ground. Many accepted my offer to roll. I'm not sure if it was out of pity for me or out of respect that I had the guts to show up. But the guys were very gracious and they allowed me into their band of brothers. I've been training now for about 5 years. In the past year, I've also been instructing the all-women's boot camp. I'm known as GI Judy, and I work these ladies really, really hard. But boy, they talk and they giggle. You just don't hear a lot of that in jiu-jitsu training. But it's a real pleasure to work with the ladies. They share the same camaraderie and support that is a thread woven throughout all programs at Clinch Academy. What sets my training apart from what I've experienced at other schools is that for the first time I connect my inward journey with my physical training. It's that mysterious side of Mr. Miyagi that I was initially drawn to back in college. There's an old Buddhist proverb that says, when a student is ready, the teacher will arrive. I suppose at this time in my life, I am ready. When Mr. Miyagi was teaching wax on, wax off, Daniel-san was learning inside block, outside block. When Luke teaches, be gentle with your partner and give them time to tap, I hear, be patient with others, respect their learning curve, and do no harm. Luke intertwines our personal growth and struggle with our development in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Occasionally, we take the time at the end of class to connect what we have learned with our relationships outside of class. Love, respect, humility, gentleness. Luke is my Mr. Miyagi. His instruction is not only the mechanics of Jiu-Jitsu, but how to apply it as a transformational tool for body, mind, and soul. I am once again working my way up through the belt colors. I'm a brown belt on my way to becoming a black belt. You might think this is something that I'm looking forward to, but it's actually very intimidating to me. I've had this talk with Luke, and he's well aware that I'd be very happy if he could just let me stay a brown belt for a couple of years. But he kind of snickered when I asked him if I could wait for Matt Field to catch up with me. And I don't think he's going to allow me my comfort zone there. Being a black belt in Taekwondo is one thing, but being a Clinch Academy Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt is something entirely different in my mind. The black belts at Clinch Academy are exceptional. I struggle with meeting my own expectations and what I perceive to be others' expectations for me. It is very much a mental battle for me. But then again, my journey at Clinch Academy has always been an inward journey as much as a physical expression of the art. My mom once asked me when I will stop training. I think she was implying something about my age in there. I know for sure the black belt isn't the end of the line for me. The belts have not been my motivation at Clinch. Asking when I will stop training is like asking when I will stop breathing. I don't know when I can no longer breathe. Roy Dean has a definition of Jiu-Jitsu that I think is so accurate and really hits home for me. He calls Jiu-Jitsu a moving meditation with a spontaneous rhythm that is uniquely your own. I just love that. This time around, I train for the sheer joy of training. My training is a connection of body, mind, and soul. Today, I train for the satisfaction of a good roll, for the appreciation of a move being executed with precision and finesse. Even if I'm the one being submitted by it, I can say, wow, that was sweet. I train for the feeling of sheer exhaustion when I have just barely enough energy at the end of the night to climb the stairs and stand in a very long hot shower. The day's cares, worries, and minor inconveniences are washed away, and I am left with a feeling of peace and satisfaction. Jiu-Jitsu is my moving meditation. I want to thank Luke, the Clinch Academy, my training partners, most importantly Luke, for being my instructor and my guide and my Mr. Miyagi in this training. Thank you.